Okay, in today's video, it's time to start our ryegrass oversow for winter. Now, in last week's video, I mentioned this is what I was going to do, and in seasons gone by, I have actually done a ryegrass oversow, but the last several years we had been in drought. We didn't have enough rain. I just thought it'd be much better if we just didn't do that until conditions improve such as they have now. So today I'm just going to run through the steps of how to go about it. Now, in last week's video, I had a few people ask me, is there benefits? Why am I doing it? This sort of thing. There's really no benefit to the existing grass at all. It's really nothing more than some theatrics, ability to give you guys a little bit of winter content, and at the end of the day also the neighborhood just enjoys it. I mean, when this is in full swing with nice stripes, it's just not the sort of thing that we see in this part of the world very often. So for the few months of the year that I can actually do it, when I can, I do like to do it. So what we need to do is, the steps are they're sort of fairly simple, and they're sort of in line with the general, I guess, springtime renovation. So obviously, first of all, we need to open up a bit of this canopy here, and by doing that, so we're going to scarify it out, then we're going to shave it down, because obviously, once again, we're trying to open up this so the seed actually falls down and gets down onto the soil level, and then we will put a bit of topsoil over the top. Now, on Monday, so today's Saturday, Easter Saturday, Monday just gone, I did actually spray this with a quite substantial dose of a Primo, which is a PGR, and basically what that will do is that'll just retard this couch grass here. It'll actually put it, probably fair to say, put it to sleep more or less until springtime now, and then in the late winter, early spring, I will actually then spray out the ryegrass with a suitable herbicide, tribute, something like that, to kill off the ryegrass and encourage the couch to come back through. Now, this will also make my springtime renovation somewhat easier, because I won't have a lot of scarifying and scalping and stuff to do, because I'm sort of doing it now. So that's how this will sort of play out. But anyway, guys, look, sit back, relax, and let's put down some rye. Pretty much in every one of these videos where I scarify and then I use a mower to pick up the scarifyings, I cop a heap of messages saying you should rake it up, rake it up, rake it up. So today, I actually tried raking it up along here, and hey, raking goes okay. But I've still got all this stuff here that I've now got to fiddle around and put it in bags, and I just can't be bothered. So I'm going back to the mower. This is quick. I don't think it's any quicker by the time I bag it all up. So I'm going back to the mower. I'm going to use 2 bangers today, so I'll grab the 2 Victors out. Got a bit of fuel in there that I want to use up before winter hits. So yeah, I'll just use that, stick to my old ways. Yeah, but hey, each their own. Righto, well that didn't take too long at all, and this 2-stroke Victor here really made light work of it. It just powered through it like an absolute champion, and it's a real shame that these old 2-bangers aren't available anymore, and I'm glad I've been able to keep one, and I think I'll do that for some time to come. Just run over this now on its lowest setting one more time, and well, not one more time, for the next pass. I had this on about halfway, so we'll go again just to suck up this loose stuff, and then we'll get that little Victor out and we'll scalp him right down, pick it up again, and we'll move on. Okay, so I'm pretty sure by now, all the neighbours now think I've lost my marbles. Beautiful green grass to start with, and now we're ending up with just a shaved, scalped, desolate patch. But next step now is, because it's the weekend, it's actually Easter weekend, I didn't actually arrange any sort of digging equipment. Now I need to load my box trailer by hand. So I'm going to load it up with the sand. I prefer to top dress then put seed down. Some of you might prefer to lay a seed down now and then top dress over the top, but when it comes time to rubbing that sand in, I just feel that if I rub the sand in, then I put my seed down and rake the seed through very lightly and then give it a roll, I find personally that works better. We get much more even seed distribution, whereas if I put the seed down now and push it around, we're not going to get obviously all of it move around, but as we move seed around, as we move soil and top dress around with our level on, we can potentially move seed into areas and leave some areas thinner than others, or too heavy in other places. So that's what I like to do. I like to top dress first, then put my seed down, rake that through just very lightly, and just roll it, just to roll it in, obviously followed then by some fertilizer and some irrigation. Okay guys, so day 2 now of our rye overseed. I actually got by the time I got everything finished yesterday afternoon, we were running out of light. I'd had enough for the day, so I thought I'd start off fresh in the morning. So what we've got now is basically you could do a couple of things depending on how carried away you want to get. You could simply spread out some seed now, be it through a rotary spreader or a drop spreader. I personally prefer the drop spreader because it doesn't get a chance to blow around and blow into the gardens and do all those sorts of things. But what I'm going to do first is just for two reasons. Number one, I'm just waiting for the dew, I guess, to settle off the sand. Now, obviously, these bits down here, the sand isn't moist, but further up near the house in the shade, it's still quite wet. I prefer to rake little grooves into the sand and then go over with the spreader, and then I prefer to roll with the roller once I'm done, and that just gives little grooves for the seed to drop into, and then the roller just sort of, if you want, covers it back over and sort of buries the seed and just sort of takes it away from potential birds and washouts, etc. Righto, so now it's time for the fun bit, the actual planting the seed. Now, as I mentioned just before, you could throw it out by hand, or I call it feeding the chooks. You could use one of the rotary hand spreaders or the rotary wheel spreaders. I've got a drop spreader to do the job only because, as I said earlier, where it drops is where it falls. Got a lot of gardens here and my weeding isn't one of my strong points, so the less weeding I can do for myself, the better. I kind of don't think I'd make a very good farmer either because my rows are not real straight, but I'm sure we can deal with it. Now, the grass we're using is a ryegrass. It's actually from America, this stuff. It can come, in Australia here, it can come from New Zealand, or in this case, it can also come from America. So we're using a perennial ryegrass. Pretty sure it's the same ryegrass that Ben Sims used to use at his old place in Orange. I've just got this feeling in the back of my head. So it's ST4660. And I did actually print out the spec sheet because ryegrass isn't something I know a heap about in the sense of, you know, which varieties are what and that kind of thing. So I wanted something that was going to be obviously very dramatic. So I wanted something that had the really dark colour. So this stuff that gives me the dark colour, actually this stuff's got extra endophytes in it. Now what endophytes are is, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Endophytes is the ability for the plant, it releases a little bit of a chemical in around its root zone, and it just helps to fight off other grasses. So through winter that can sort of help, but in spring this could also be a hindrance when the couch grass is trying to push back through. So come springtime we need to be on our game to kill this out as soon as the weather starts to warm up a bit, and give that couch a head start and help it sort of push back through, because what we've done is quite a I guess dramatic or serious or heavy sort of thing to our couch at this time of year. But obviously it's not going to die, we just need to be on the game. So this is good in dry conditions. So traditionally here in Scone we can either be really dry or really wet. Good in shade, good in heat. Now, who's this actually for? I mean, who's doing rye? Obviously you can do rye in most parts of Australia, and you can do rye in Brisbane and things like that, but my advice generally speaking is if you're in an area that tends to get winter frost, then you're probably in a good situation to do a winter rye. It's going to keep the colour there. We don't want humidity. Most cool season grasses don't like humidity, so obviously these cool frosty places are generally drier and don't get that humidity. So sort of southern states ideal, and predominantly couch and kikuyu. I don't recommend doing it in buffalo because I mean it's such a contrast too. You've got a broadleaf grass versus a fine textured grass that is the ryegrass, and come spring it's very tricky to get a selective herbicide to get rid of it, so you're just going to get yourself into all sorts of trouble. So ideally it's probably better to keep it for your kikuyu and your couch lawns, but couch is probably your easiest lawn to eradicate it in the spring. So let's chuck it out, and yeah, I'm going to go two ways, especially with a drop spreader. So I'll go over it twice because we're not going to get distribution coverage, we're only going to get coverage where the seed drops. So if I have a little whoopsie and miss a bit, then that's obviously going to be a whoopsie and there's going to be no grass. So double coverage, this way, this way. So I'm going to set the spreader up for half rate. So the rate of this stuff is up to 5 kilos for a full plantation. So I'm going to do the 5 kilo per 100 only because there's nothing, this is really probably not so much an oversow now as it is a winter lawn. So going to go 5 kilos per 100. This area here behind me is 200 and the street adds up to about 50. So it's about 250 square meters. So that should use half this bag. So yeah, I'll weigh some out and I'll get it happening. Okay, so after I put the seed out, I ended up actually going over it again one more time with the rake, just so everything's sort of sitting up nicely in its little rows and ready for a roll. So what I'm going to do now though is I'm going to put out the fertilizer, and what we're going to do is, once again, we're going to roll with the Plant Doctor Champion Greens and Fairway Mini Prill. It's a great little product for this sort of thing. We're going to go the half rate, so we're going to go the 2 kilos per 100 square meters. So that should just give us a nice little kickstart. Obviously rye does not mind a bit of a feed, but obviously as you're starting off, we're just going to go somewhat more gentle, and we should get a really good germination. So 7 to 10 days from now, we should start to see this coming up, and expect to see establishment somewhere in around that sort of 3-week period. Righto guys, well I hope you've enjoyed today's episode on how to go about doing a winter rye oversow. Now, this is probably the most pedantic method. This method of raking and rolling and raking and rolling and scarifying and shaving and all these sorts of things will guarantee you stellar results. There's no corner cutting. This will be a proper lush lawn. As I said, the only thing is, come springtime, we've got to be on our game to get it back to cooch before the cooch starts to try and wake up and comes into contact or comes up against the endophytes, which will be in this ryegrass. Anyway guys, have a fantastic weekend. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. We'll catch you next time on the Aussie Lawn.